Today I had the chance to stop by the headquarters of Xero Shoes. This company is spectacular because they go against everything the shoe industry stands for by providing shoes that feel close to nothing. Remember as you watch this to think about your dreams and how Steven has conquered the odds in the shoe business. Join me now as we listen to Steven share his passions.
Why Xero Shoes? What was the passion behind the project?
So when a mommy loves a daddy very much, not that far back, this is about 8 years ago, I got back into sprinting after a 30-year break, which I don't inherently recommend. I was getting injured constantly. I remember once I'm walking through the kitchen just barely shuffling and my wife says to me, "Are you having a good time?" I said, "More than you can imagine." So the injury part was not fun, and after literally 2 years of this, I mean, like every 2 weeks practically, something would rip, tear, break. It was horrible. But I was having so much fun doing it, I couldn't stop. But a friend of mine, he's a world champion cross-country runner, he said, "You should try taking off your shoes and see if running barefoot tells you anything about what's causing all these injuries." So I go for this barefoot run, and I'm so fascinated by the sensations and by the experience of just experimenting with my gait. If I move faster, if I run faster, if I run slower, move my legs faster, if I land on my forefoot or my heel or the middle of my foot, it was like so interesting that at the end of this run, I turned to someone who had a GPS watch on. I said, how far was that? She goes, "That was a little over 5K. I went, I'm sorry, what? I mean, I don't think I had ever run over a mile up until that point. And it was just, I was transfixed. Now, at the end of this race, I ended up with a big blister on the ball of my left foot. Now, most people, when that happens, they go, "Hey, what's wrong? Because I got a blister on my left foot." My thought was, "Hey, what's wrong? Because I didn't get a blister on my right foot. So this one's okay, and this one's doing something different." A week later, I go out for my second barefoot run, still a gaping giant wound on my left foot, and I thought, if I could figure out a way to run that wasn't hurting, that means I'm probably not doing the thing that caused this in the first place.
Right.
Give myself 10 minutes. If it doesn't work, I'll try again later maybe, but let's just see. 9 minutes and 30 seconds of sheer agony. I was ready to give up, and then literally it changed. In one stride, I went from painful to easy, fast, light, effortless. And I didn't know at the time what had changed, but it was also not lost on me that my left leg was the one that got injured more than my right leg. So I'd stopped doing whatever that thing was. And what that thing was I was reaching out with my foot and somewhat paradoxically braking, literally putting on the brakes every time my foot hit the ground. And by stopping doing that, injuries went away, I became faster. I'm now a Masters All-American sprinter, which means for men over the age of 50, I'm one of the fastest guys in the country. Actually, for men over 50, you're sitting across the table from perhaps the fastest Jew in the world. So, not a lot of competition, but nonetheless. And so I just love this whole thing of what is it like to be as close to barefoot as I can,
right,
and keep that feeling of being connected to the ground and getting that feedback, getting that information. And so I started making sandals out of just scraps of rubber that I found, some laces that I got at Home Depot. We'd sit on the street making sandals, and then more people wanted them, then more people, and one day a guy says, "If you had a website for this hobby of yours, treated it like a business, I have a book on barefoot running that I'm coming out with." And I rush home and I pitch this idea to my wife, who tells me it's a really stupid idea and we won't make any money, it's a waste of time, it's a distraction from other things that I'm doing. And I said, "Yeah, you're probably right." She goes to bed around 9. I had a website up by 10, and the next day I assured her that it was just a test. We'll see what happens. And 3 months later, it's our full-time job. And 4 months after that, we're meeting with some former guys who met at Nike and Reebok 40 years earlier, and they're helping us with product design and marketing plans. And then it just kept going and going and going and going. And now we've helped over 120,000 people all around the world, 94 countries, just feel how amazing it is to just do what human beings have been doing for millions of years, which is being connected to the ground in a way that's safe and comfortable and allows you to use your feet the way they're supposed to be used.
Through the simple act of just starting, you can get further than you might ever expect. Steven didn't know how it was going to work out. He just started small, and that's where we all should. In the meantime, let's hear how his wife ended up joining the team.
Starting the business, what was the hardest aspect of getting it, other than getting the wife's permission?
I think the most difficult thing is realizing that you're never going to know everything you need to know, and that every day you're going to be walking into something that is a mystery that you've got to figure out. That every day, one of my biggest fantasies is that one day, everything that was working yesterday is still working today. God, that'd be awesome. It really should be that every 6 months you look back at what you were doing 6 months ago and think, wow, I was a moron. And if you don't have that almost embarrassing sense of naivete, then you're doing something wrong. You can't walk into a new business without being completely hyper optimistic, naive, stupid, unwilling to face reality in many ways. I mean, that's just what we do. In fact, the guys who we met from Reebok, Nike, that whole gang, they kept saying to us, we would start this with you, but we've been in footwear for 35 years and we're not stupid enough to start a shoe company. And literally, Lane and I said, oh no, we are. We knew that we were being naive. We knew that we were being optimistic, but what else are you going to do? And certainly, had we known all the things they were talking about, it would have given us pause, because it's been a lot of work, a lot of financial challenges and stress, and making physical stuff is fraught with peril. But luckily we were dumb. I don't know anyone who's started anything good who wasn't anything other than oblivious to all the challenges they were going to face a week, a month, 6 months, a year, 10 years down the line. And it's just the never-ending putting one foot in front of the other that let me back up, because I'm making this sound like this has to do with me. The biggest factor that's allowed us to keep going is massive amounts of luck. I mean, just mind-blowing amounts of crazy good fortune that we couldn't have predicted in a million years. The thing about entrepreneurs is people think they have a higher risk tolerance than other people, but the actual thing is that we just don't think that what we're doing is risky.
Right.
Like, worst case scenario, I go bankrupt. All right. Worst case scenario, I lose everything. All right.
As an entrepreneur, it may help to be a little bit naive. The naivety is allowing us not to focus on the hard things that cause you to be afraid or stagnant. Steven pushed through the challenges and landed on Shark Tank. Hear him tell more of the story and how the show has propelled him even further.
If there was any highlight of that experience, what would you say was the best thing about being on that show?
I'm going to tell you two that are going to be surprising. Actually, I'll say three. The obvious one is the publicity was amazing. We did about 3 months worth of sales in the week following the show. It was an exhausting week. I spent the first 72 hours of the show awake on my computer dealing with things. In fact, at the 72-hour mark, I have a treadmill desk. So I'm standing on the treadmill desk, turned it off so I wasn't walking, talking to someone on Skype, trying to solve some problem. He asked me some question. I went, let me think about it. I went, and I literally fell asleep standing up. So the sales part, that was great. But here's two really unexpected parts. One is, it was the first project that Lane and I had to do as a couple where we really had to create the thing from scratch. I mean, it sounds really weird, but just planning the entire appearance on the show, or the part that we controlled, us being there, was our first really serious joint project. When we started the business, we didn't actually even talk about it. It just kind of happened. We never discussed it. It just turned out that through, again, tremendous luck, we're really good business partners. We have complementary skills. We like working together. We respect each other. That was we didn't know. That was accidental. But doing this together was really great for our relationship. It really brought us even closer and gave us a real strong sense of purpose, both as business owners and as a couple, that I'm forever grateful for. And the other thing that was similarly surprising, when the show aired, my parents, who lived outside of DC, they had a big party and invited all their friends. Now, I'm not one of those people who cares what one's parents thinks of one. It's just not my thing. But my parents were very socially conscious, and all of their friends were really impressed with us on the show. And so that made my parents really, really proud. And while that's not something I cared about personally, I loved that they got to have that experience. It felt like a really surprising, great gift that they could be proud of us, and that the show gave them that. And it's not like, they didn't like us before or anything, but it's something that they talked about like every day. And again, while my goal in life is not to make my parents happy, if you can do that, it's really a sweet thing.
It's a bonus.
It's a really nice bonus. I'm very happy that it happened.
What's next for Xero Shoes?
Oh my God. What's important to us is natural movement, is making footwear that's designed to fit human feet. So the designs don't scrunch up your toes. They let your foot move. They let your foot feel the ground the way that it's supposed to. So in addition to our sandal line, which we're continuing to expand, we've got actual footwear. People call us and say, well, I love the sandals, but I need to wear shoes at work, or I need something in the winter. And so that's coming out in the fall.
Very cool.
It's really cool. And still our same DNA, really, really flexible, lets you feel the ground, lets your foot move naturally, weighs next to nothing, and just a beautiful design. And then in the spring, we're following it up with that, which is the same idea.
DNA?
Yeah, same DNA. And then we've got...
I've seen you do this a lot.
I do that a lot. And then we're just expanding on all of this. So more products for more uses. I'm not looking to compete with Nike and the big shoe companies. I'm looking, let people wear those for the hour that they're wearing those, for those who want to. We have a lot of people who've switched because of our running stuff, but I don't want to try and fight with them and fight with the people who like that product. I want to give them something so that when they take those off, they put these on and go, oh wow, and then they get used to these. The big secret we have is once you start wearing a pair of Xero shoes, you put on something else and it just feels like a brick. And so there's this definite, kind of quality of getting a pair of shoes on people's feet. It's like, no, seriously, just try one. Take the puppy home. You don't have to make a decision yet. Just see if you like it for the weekend. There's a lot of that in what we do. And so we're expanding the line so that people have an opportunity to wear something that's actually good for your feet and feels really good on your feet 24/7. Well, not when you're asleep, but anytime you're awake.
So you're probably asking, doesn't every shoe company offer support and comfort in your feet? What sets Xero apart? Let's see how he found his niche.
The whole idea of cushioning and support is upside down and misunderstood. So if you have cushioning in your shoes, ironically and paradoxically, you end up landing in a way that puts a giant spike of force through your joints, directly through your joints. When you can't do that, if it hurts to land that way, you then use your muscles, your ligaments, and your tendons the way they're designed, as the natural springs and shock absorbers they're supposed to be. So you put less force in your joints when you don't have all that padding. Same thing with the idea of support. So people think, oh, I need support because I have flat feet, high arches, whatever the hell the reason they think they need it, mostly because a doctor told them that because he made money selling them the support. And so think about if you break your arm. You put your arm in a cast, in a couple of weeks it comes out not stronger, comes out weaker, comes out all atrophied, and you only have two choices then. You can start using it and getting it stronger again, or you need a bigger cast. And so it's the same thing with support in your shoe. It's making your foot instantly weaker, which over time gets progressively worse. And so there's two choices. Get out and start using your feet and build up that strength, which anyone can do at any age. Or, you need to get into progressively more support until I know people who literally cannot walk barefoot from their bedroom to their bathroom without having orthotics in their slippers. It's just insane. It's just completely insane. The Western world is the only place where that happens. You don't have podiatrists in third world countries saying, oh, let me help you with those orthotics. They don't have them because they're using their feet. And there's no reason that we can't all do the same. The people who are selling this idea of support and motion control, I'll say it this way. People sometimes say to me, well, where's your proof that this works? I go, no, it's the other way around. People have been doing what we're doing for thousands, tens of thousands, arguably millions of years, using your foot naturally. Where's the evidence that footwear and support provides benefits, that improves performance, that reduces injury? And the answer is, it doesn't exist. And it's not like they don't have a financial incentive to do that. Right. If you had a shoe company and you could make a shoe that was demonstrably better than some other shoe, that is literally worth billions of dollars. Why haven't they done it? I mean, where the opportunity is there, the incentive is there, but instead, every 6 months, like, hey, here's our new magic whatever technology, or hey, don't you want to be like this guy wearing our shoes? The only reason you rely on those two methods of marketing is when you don't have a real there. And that's what's happening. A study came out showing that about injury rate. It says, well, the injury rate on barefoot runners was the same as runners in shoes, so barefoot's no better for you. It's like, hold on, other way around. The intervention is shoes. What you're telling me is that after 45 years, you guys haven't made a shoe that's better than being barefoot. That's the story. And that's a story that's like cigarettes causing cancer. I mean, people have spent billions and billions of dollars on something because they're sold on the idea that it's going to improve things for them, but there's no evidence.
So, marketing question for you.
Yeah.
When you talk about the myth and so forth, how do you market your product to where you break the myth?
Oh boy, that is a tough question. Education is an expensive thing, and it's usually not the best way to go. So that's how it all began for us, because that's how we got into it. But that's a very small little niche of people for whom that's the appropriate way to start. So what we do is we make products that look cool and work well and that people love, and then we give them the education part sort of after the fact. We put in just enough of the explanation for why these are what they are so that people go, oh, because the story of this is simple. Your feet are designed to bend, to flex, and feel the world. These let you do that. Other shoes don't. How hard is that to figure out? But the real education, the bigger education beyond that, we make it available. That's the magic of the internet, is you can have a blog where all that can be there, but you don't have to lead with it. And if people want to find it, they'll find it. And we kind of guide people towards it after the sale, so that not only do they have a product that, like you feel it and you love it, but now you have some information about why. So the next time you talk to someone and you go, wow, my knees feel really good, you're going to tell them the story about why your knees feel really good.
Right.
So it's supporting people with information rather than trying to beat them over the head and sell them with information. No one buys because of information. They buy because they see something they like. They have the idea that it's something that might be helpful. They just saw someone wearing something who said, I love it. All of those emotional things are what make the sale. The information is what you use to make people feel good about it.
What's your big dream with this?
Change the world. I have two, to be totally candid. I've got a personal dream, and I do have the big picture dream. The personal dream is, for Lane and I, this is our retirement plan. We don't have an IRA. Well, we did, but we spent it all getting the business started. We don't have, this is it. We're on the entrepreneurial retirement plan. The bigger goal is, again, we know that what we're doing helps people. We know that it's better for people. We know that we can't say some of these things legally unless we have a whole bunch of science behind it. And we know that there are literally billions of dollars of vested interests arguing against our point. And so to try to find the right way to create this groundswell, this grassroots movement, this understanding that in the same way that people think of natural foods as better than processed, we want people to think about natural footwear, natural movement as better than processed. And if we're able to do that, it literally could change the world. I know that sounds hyperbolic, and I don't have messianic fantasies really, but if you had the opportunity to, rather than trying to force the issue, that's not the way I work, but if someone gave you the opportunity to change the world, to make people's lives better, why would you not take it?
Steven's focus is all about helping people experience life through better shoes. He believes that these shoes are game changers in an industry that doesn't place value on true comfort. Don't allow your company to focus on how much money you can garner, but the benefit you can give to your customers. I asked Steven who he would like to wear his shoes today, and he responded with this.
There's so many influential people that if they were wearing them, that could make a big difference, but that's not the part that's the most interesting to me. The part that's the most interesting to me, okay, here's the answer. It's someone who thought they couldn't walk or run or hike or whatever it was because they had something with their feet that we know is there because they've been wearing big, thick, padded whatever. And the only people the people that we love putting these on is someone for whom that's the situation they're in. Then they put these on and they say, just like you said, you know, I used to not be able to do X, and now not only can I do it, but I'm loving it. And so it's just that person. It's someone who just feels that benefit of going back to natural movement. That's the most important person. And then, of course, everyone who just likes them, that too. But in terms of, to answer your question, it's the one for whom it allows them to have a life again.